Hey, you guys, this is the Couplings Fire podcast. Here's a couple of things you might need to know, or maybe you just forgot. I'm Taylor, a volunteer firefighter and also a firewife to my favorite firefighter. Join me as I talk anything and everything fire related. I don't claim to be an expert, I just love to talk fire, and everything I say is my own opinion. My goal? To inspire anyone listening to take the steps to bettering their department, however they can. Let's get on to the episode. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Couplings Fire podcast. We have a fun episode for you guys tonight. I am here with Bill Dungey, and he's put together a program called the Wedge. Now, I got a chance to look over this program a little bit, and I have a few questions on it, and I know you guys are going to want to hear about it anyways. So I'm really excited to have him on today to kind of to walk us through this and walk us maybe through some family life too at the end in a segment for Family Firefighter Survival. So, Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. Well, first of all, thank you very much for taking time out of your night to talk about this program and where I've come from to get this thing off the ground. I appreciate your time.
Oh, of course. I'm so happy to have you here.
So I guess the easiest way to introduce myself in this program is to start. I'm your very prototypical apologetic Canadian. So
Okay.
On top of that, I have a real healthy dose of imposter syndrome that mixes its way into the stew every once in a while. I'm a probationary volunteer firefighter from Brant, Ontario, Canada. So that means I still have red stripes on my helmet.
So when did you start exactly? Sorry, I'm going to inject.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be completely rude, but I got, my brain works like really quick. I got to ask him. So when did you start?
I started, I got hired on in December of 2020, and I started my recruit program in February, and I just finished Firefighter 1 and 2. And so I've had a pager now for 4 or 5 months, maybe something like that.
Okay, yeah, cool.
And so as green as they come. So I'm really careful. I'm as green as they come in the fire service, but where I've come from on the personal side, goal setting is really important to me. Okay, so for example, in the interview process for getting on with County of Brant Fire, I was asked about things like discipline and personal fortitude. And I've been the undisciplined person. So now, maybe 6 or 7 years removed from that version of Bill, I'm a completely fundamentally different person. So I get really fired up about things like goal setting and progress and working aggressively and stuff like that. And so I feel like sometimes when I'm describing this program, or even if people catch a whiff of that side of my personality, I have to temper the conversation by saying I know I'm brand new, so what I've been saying around my station is what I lack in skill, I make up for with enthusiasm,
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, and then from what I understand, this program you didn't make it for firefighters.
It started with just me and a bunch of my psycho friends just trying to get better, I guess, capital B better, as fast as possible. And then once I was enabled by my department and the fire service generally to participate, I was like, oh, this is a fit.
Yeah.
And I could tune this and key this toward the fire service. I ran it by myself, just with a couple people, and then again, just by myself to make sure, kind of like to beta test it, to make sure it would work. And I was like, oh, this works. So now that it's been rejigged for the fire service, I think, dare I say, I know that this is a good fit. See, that's where I feel like already I have to be like, guys, I know I'm the guy. But so basically, I grew up in Ontario, Canada, moved around Canada a little bit, had some experiences, settled back into Brantford, Ontario, Canada. It's where I'm from. I guess one of the things that I bring up when I'm describing myself in the context of getting better and progress and that kind of stuff, I'm on the other side of a fitness journey that has, I've seen myself lose about 110 pounds and keep it off now for 7 years.
That's impressive.
And
That's awesome.
so I bring things like that in to say, like, I kind of feel like I am the right guy to talk about goal setting and working forward. So, like,
it's something that, and this podcast necessarily isn't about this, but we all have the imposter syndrome. I feel like, to a point, we don't know what to do necessarily. We don't know how other people are going to take us, and we aren't always as confident in our skills. And everybody, whether they were the top of the top in the fire service or just the middleman or whatever it is, they've all started from the bottom. They've all been where you are. They've all been where I have been, just not, wanting to be careful in how they say things and whatnot. But I mean, so far, I think this is a great program from what I've seen from the outside, at least.
I'll tell you, I just heard I read a quote from Aaron Fields that said, "Water boils from the bottom."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh boy, I'm finna boil. Like, yeah. That one resonated big time with me. I think that's another marker, I guess, for Bill is I'm affected immediately and deeply. I'm the guy, when you go on YouTube and you look up motivational videos from Jocko Willink or David Goggins, man, mm-hmm. David Goggins can make me run faster when he's screaming obscenities in my ears.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm the guy that, like, I get charged by that. So when I get to thinking about, let's talk about motivation for a second, because I think a lot of people get hung up in maybe the hiccup here between discipline and motivation. I can get affected by extrinsic motivation. And I'm lucky that way, because I know some people, it just doesn't work. They're like, okay, cool. That guy's out there, whomever, the guy on YouTube, yelling at you to get better. Some people are like, okay, cool. He's out there working, but it doesn't like hit them or resonate. And they rely more on that intrinsic motivation, right? Mm-hmm. I think the thing that happened to me was very recently, as soon as I started with the fire service, I went from, I'm going to get stronger, get faster, get smarter, do the things I need to do for me. That turned into, see, this is again, like the new guy's going to say about duty, something like duty. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, for real, I went on a couple calls and I recognized immediately, maybe with the foundation of what I've read, and I listened to a lot of these speeches from FDIC and FireX talks and stuff like that. And they're talking about, like, for them. Well, you only have to go on one call before you see that they called you.
Exactly.
I'm the guy. Like, I'm the guy that got on the truck, and now here we are in this guy's living room. So I figured that to take something like this program that I've been working on and develop it, the phrase that I've been using is, it's not about making sharper firefighters. It's about how sharp can you get, and I guess redefining or even reimagining how sharp can I get, where, my, oh my, I've heard the word hobby. I've heard the word that, that this, your involvement here could be a hobby, that it's kind of like the Lions Club. And I'm like, homie, if you think this is like the Lions Club, you're not sitting at my table.
Exactly. You should go join the Lions Club if you want it to be the Lions Club. This isn't the Lions Club. This is the Lions Den.
Whoa, yeah. Oh, that's a t-shirt waiting to happen right there, Huh? They, the table, this idea of the table. In my garage, I have this fold-out table. And I'm lucky that I live in this neighborhood with these two other hard chargers. And they both have tables in their garages. So every Friday, we meet at one of these tables. And then there's a couple people on the perimeter of our neighborhood that come in and meet at this table as well. And it's this like the most hardcore accountability group I've ever been a part of. Like,
oh man.
Okay, my perfect example of this is when I was going through the process for volunteer fire. I had the interview coming up. Holy moly, I made the interview.
Mm-hmm.
And I was nervous about the interview because I had recently had some failures that I talked to my friends about, that I was really excited for these opportunities, and I failed. And I didn't want to fail again, I didn't want to. I told these guys I had the interview coming up, and I'm like, if I screw this up, I'm going to have to go back again and say I didn't work out. And one of these guys from our, air quote, from the table, I went over to help him move like a chest or something like that. And he was like, by the way, you're not preparing for this interview the way I know you could. What's up? And I was like, you can't say that to me.
How dare you call me out like that?
Yeah, just straight up called me out, And I feel I've baked some of that mentality into this program because I respond well to that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other thing that's worth mentioning here is I talk about a version of Bill that was previous to the person that sits before you. So I've dealt back in those days. Actually, the first time I ever spoke about this with anybody exterior to my peer group was on the Ignited Firefighter podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, whoa, I'm talking about this right now.
By the way.
Fantastic. I was a bigger guy. I was flat out depressed, flat out, like positively after my son was born. This is something I'm really vocal about too. Men have a tremendous amount of hormonal changes that happen after a baby's born, and it's not really discussed openly. But I was one of those guys that I fell into this pit, and I'd be at work, I'd pull into the Staples parking lot because I got to go buy a printer for a client. And I would just panic and start bawling my eyes out. And I didn't even know why. I was just infinitely sad and angry and just not a nice person to be around. I found, by the grace of God, I found fitness. And I found running. That's what I found. I found running. And it was I could face these horrible little gremlins in my mind that were people talk about when you're running that you face the wall, right? And the wall is this thing that says all right, bro, you're good to go. You went and you did your run. You don't have to keep going. And when you push through that, you transcend yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that process was about looking at these little, not voices I can hear people talking to me, but the internal voice, the internal dialogue telling me that I'm unworthy and I'm lesser than and all this kind of stuff. Before we started recording, you were asking me about jujitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Right after I found running, I found jujitsu. And jujitsu, for the woefully unaware, if you don't know what jujitsu is, you need to start knowing what jujitsu is.
I'm very curious. I have no idea. I just know the name, and I know I don't know. I have an image in my mind. I'm not sure if it's right. So UFC or MMA,
when
Yeah.
they're not hitting each other, they're grappling.
Hmm.
And you see them like get put in arm locks and chokes and stuff like that. That's jujitsu.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a grappling martial art based on making the other person submit, based on kind of hurting them.
Yeah.
You know, that's a completely psychopathic thing to say, I understand. But the thing about it was I can modulate what I'm doing when I'm running. If I don't feel like running hard, I can run softer. But, you know, with jujitsu, the whole like bag don't hit back thing, right? Like if you have this like, you know, 240-pound gorilla on you and he's trying to rip you apart, I don't have a choice in that matter.
Mhm.
You know, and jujitsu, my goodness, jujitsu let me, the thing about jujitsu is if you're thinking about the things that are bothering you and your life and your all these things and your stressors, you're going to get choked. So you can't think about that stuff. It detaches you from everything. I think it was Matthew McConaughey. I think I've misquoted this before by saying it was Russell Brand. I think Matthew McConaughey says when he has problems, they stack on top of his shoulders like this vertical tower, and it like presses him down, down, down. But when he exercises, he pushes that stack over, and now it turns into problems that are in front of him, and he can step over them one at a time.
Oh, I like that.
And it's like,
That's good.
that's exactly what it feels like, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a
So,
much needed break from it because you need a full mental break from all the problems that you're facing every day. Otherwise, it's going to become unbearable.
yeah. Unbearable is where I was when I decided to put my winter boots on and run around the block. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is ridiculous.
That is not the time people start running.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go for like I'm just gonna run around the block and see if I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, okay, well, let's see if I can run for 1 kilometer. Let's see if I did the whole couch to 5K program.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came home after doing a 5K, my neighbors probably thought I was psycho, right? I like had my arms up, like one-man celebration crew. I was like, I couldn't believe I did it, you know? And so I know, I guess fundamentally what I'm trying to say here is I know what it feels like to build a platform for yourself to win. And every time we have these little tiny wins, we build confidence. You know, I think confidence is just that. It's a culmination of little wins, right? It lets you accept more burden because you're like, I can handle it, kind of thing. You know, I've turned into getting this program together. I've turned into like a data nerd because I was actually challenged once again by Catherine Sinden. She's a professor up here in Canada from a university up north that deals with a whole bunch of different fire programs. They're the kinesiology department there generates all these different fitness programs, and they do studies and stuff like that for a bunch of different fire departments around here. And I weaseled my way into a Zoom call with this infinitely busy person. And I was like, hey, I'm working on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? And she challenged me to, she said, basically, you know that it works because you've done it. But how can you prove to somebody who hasn't done it that it works? Well, you need evidence. And so one of the things I've started doing is compiling sources for some of my ideas that are based on journals or scholarly articles. One of them that I was going to talk about is this whole, you know, little wins in building confidence. The one thing I've been crazy interested in over the last little while is motivation and dopamine and how it works in our brains. Because I was brought up, so way before the fire service, I went to college to be a social service worker. And I was doing things like working with teens and adults with autism spectrum disorders, and young offenders, things like that. So I kind of come from this world. And I was taught that dopamine is basically our reward system. And that when we do good things, like if we say to ourselves, I'm going to empty out the fridge and get rid of all the half-filled honey garlic sauces back there and clean out the fridge. And then we actually do it, we get this dopamine release. It makes us feel good. So we want to do more things and follow through. Mm-hmm. So there's this like cutting edge research. I first heard of it through the Huberman Labs podcast. And then I got to reading about this stuff. So one of the sources I have in the Wedge is from this journal called Neuron, and it's a neuroscience journal. So they did this huge deep dive on dopamine, where they found that dopamine is actually what regulates our capacity and our drive to work. So dopamine, we actually get the big dopamine flood from the work itself, not from the finish line.
Oh, I could see that.
Right. And so that perfectly describes Bill Dungey, because that like the nose down mentality to just keep working. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's why I function like that. Because then I get, a message back from the Couplings podcast, and you're like, yeah, let's do an interview. And I'm like, boom, there's the little dopamine that we're working. Let's keep talking to people.
Yeah, let's keep going, see how many more we can hit, see how much we can get out there. And yeah, it's funny how much dopamine runs our minds, and in good ways and bad ways. And the good, like you're saying, just the good tasks of doing things around the house or whatnot, actually doing things we're supposed to, or things we want to work on, are big tasks. And then the stupid little things like phones and social media, but yeah. But
so I think my statement anyway, if I'm doing an elevator pitch for this program, mm-hmm. is I think goals are developed with good intentions but poor technique. And that statement is this mix of all the different things that Bill is into, right? There's like little bits of martial arts in there, because I think building goals, or let's say that if you're just working and if you're just driving without a solid aim, right? I just finished an article where I wrote that if an archer releases his arrow without zeroing in on the target, it's a wasted shot. Right? He might hit the target, but ultimately we need to make sure that we have a very specific aim before we start working. And I think, it's like example that everybody uses is, well, I'm going to lose weight. And you're like, well, congratulations. Like, how much weight are you going to lose? By when? By doing what? How are you going to measure it? So anybody that's been around goal setting for any length of time is familiar with the SMART system, right? It's the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-sensitive goal setting technique. So for example, right now I'm doing the Wedge personally, and I'm kind of documenting it all on Instagram, so that if you want to see how it runs, just jump on my Instagram and you'll see me doing it every single day. So for the program, we set 3 goals using that SMART methodology. And currently, the way that sorts itself out is, if you want to run this with yourself or with your crew or with your husband or wife or anybody, message me and I will run this for you remotely. Okay, it's free. It's open source. There's no catch. This is just a resource for helping people work aggressively to get better. We're going to set 3 goals. We're going to set 1 in the domain of the body, scaled for you. Because anytime I bring this up, people are like, oh, great. Now we're going to be running a half marathon. Well, your goal for your body might look like, I'm only going to eat out on Fridays for 1 month, right? Or I'm only going to have 3 coffees per day for 1 month, or I'm going to deadlift 225 for however many reps and sets. Like, it scales to you.
Okay.
One goal for your body, one goal for your mind. So that should be something where you're learning, reading a book, taking a course. Like, for crying out loud, there's FEMA, NFPA, all of these places online that have free courses.
Mm-hmm.
You can
There's
bang it
tons
out.
of them out there.
Yeah, you can bang it out on a Sunday afternoon. There's no excuse. Come on. One goal, one of those SMART goals toward developing your mind, and one more goal toward developing your firecraft or your field craft in the fire service. So to give you an idea, I did this in August. Here's what I set out to do. During the month of August, I'm going to, with a weighted ruck 12 miles in under 4 hours. That was my body goal.
Nice.
My mind goal was that I was going to read this book that I got for my birthday. It's like on World War II medics and stuff. I'm going to read that book by the end of the month. There's my mind goal. And my firecraft goal was I'm going to completely inventory our pumper, every compartment, every tool, and I'm going to put it into a little booklet so that not only myself, I can learn the truck inside out, but future recruits can now have this little book where they flip through and they can learn the truck too.
Oh, fantastic.
So I guess to give you a different spin, or my current wedge goals for the month of December is, I was saying to you before we started recording, I just finished this Fit to Thrive program. So I developed a new workout program, and I want to try it for a month to see if it destroys me or to see if I can keep it up. I'm going to do this workout program for 1 month, and I'm going to record every workout. And I'm also going to record all of my supplements. So like fish oil, magnesium, in my journal to see how I feel day by day over the month. My mind goal, very similar to August. I got another book on World War II medics, and I'm going to read that book by the end of the month.
There seems to be a theme there. Hold on. What are the 2 books names? Do you have them by chance?
Yeah, one is, the one I'm reading this month is Every Man a Hero by Ray Lambert. And he's an American medic who landed on Omaha. And some of the stuff in this book is like triple highlighted, excellent leadership stuff. Excellent.
Oh,
and
man.
Just like, I'm reading it to my wife. I'm like, can you believe this resource? And then there's some of it that's just insane. And I'm like, I can't believe 21-year-olds were tasked with doing some of this stuff.
It's crazy.
The other one was Rush to Danger by Ted Barris.
Okay.
And that's like a handful of short stories about Canadian medics over like a century span, and like just cool stuff that they did. Like one was a poet, the other one was responsible for developing a certain kind of bandage, and just like kind of cool medic stuff from World War II. The firecraft goal I have for this month is to complete the pump school from Roll Steady. It's on my separate second monitor here. This is an unbelievable resource. If people don't know about Roll Steady,
I actually don't think I do, so I'm writing it down.
It's unbelievable that this is free. This is like they have their own online platform. It's free.
Is it just rollsteady.com or how?
It's therollsteady.com, spelled as it sounds. They have a YouTube channel, and I'm going to bring up their online classes here. Yeah, they have 4 classes that are available. One is leadership and officer development. One is pump school, and one is how to crush your rookie years.
That's
if you go to pump school, they have 25 chapters here. It's unbelievable that this is free. And it's all about like running a pumper and kind of problem solving and stuff like that. And so anyways, I'm getting after it with this whole program. And before they figure out that this resource should be charged and end up charging people.
Yeah, get done with it really quickly.
I'm going to get it done for free because these guys are crazy. you're going to develop those goals and then take 1 month to work towards their completion. I would like to see this program, or dare I say, I'm aiming to enable this platform to be used as like a print and play resource. Okay. So you want to run this with 3 people who are switched on at your station, you can print this off the website and you've got the little booklet, boom, you can just run it the next month. After that month, it's my opinion that this would be a voluntary module, let's say, or like an add-on.
Okay.
That people who would volunteer for the index or the end of the exercise should do a group workout that is, dare I say, much longer than you're used to doing.
When I was reading through the printout for this whole program, I got to that part and I'm like, what? Which it is great. It's a great what, but it was one of those like, oh my goodness, like this, it seems awesome, but it seems intense. So go into it because I want to know more about it from your perspective too.
Okay. And I'm so glad you said that, because this is something that I'm trying to bolster. I'm so glad you just said that. Okay. So when I first started losing weight, I was kind of secretive about it because this seems like a really emo thing to say, but I was really used to failing. I was just used to it. And so I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. But then I had a buddy or two kind of call me out and be like, are you sick? Like, why are you? And I was like, no, I'm trying to lose weight. But then once I realized that like, oh, this is working. Like I'm totally capable of doing this. I like quadrupled down. And I remember people used to say, you're really intense. Okay.
Ah.
And so what I took from that socially, especially given the conversation that it would be rooted around, was, oh, Bill, you need to soften up. You need to pump the brakes and like take a step back a little bit here. And then eventually, I can't remember, like, I wish I knew like what the trigger was or like what happened to like click this little Neanderthal part of my brain that I can say that I did the whole 23andMe thing and I'm in like the 97th percentile for like the whole Neanderthal thing. So I can say that I'm the guy, but I started saying, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm intense. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you said that, because I think there's room for that.
People always think that they can't be intense. I mean, you have, and you were talking about even the very beginning of this podcast, trying to tone yourself down when you're talking to these other firefighters, because your passion is so intense right now. Your excitement for everything, for the fire service, for this program and everything is so intense, and you're afraid of that. We shouldn't be afraid of that.
Yeah. Right?
Being intense shouldn't be seen as a bad thing most of the time. Now, intense with anger, yeah, that's bad. But intense with passion and with good passion driven in the right direction, we should strive for that and work to find people like that to encourage the rest of us to be like that.
It's definitely infectious. And here's how I know, okay? I'm a guy that attaches myself to phrases. I like phrases. The reason phrases are popular is because there's a kernel of truth, right? So when you say things like, get after it, I'm on one. I've been on one, bro. I'm out here. I'm going to let them know. So, and that's just the way I speak when I'm engaged. Okay. And there's a guy at my station, his name's Dave, but I call him Big Dave because we should be, bolstering each other like that. That's Big Dave, bro. Let's go. And I know because I know it's infectious, because it used to be a joke where as soon as we see each other, he'd be like, hey, what's up? Well, let me guess, you're getting after it. And now we have this like dialogue back and forth where he calls it like Billisms. And as soon as I see him walk in, I'm like, what's up, Big Dave? He's like, I'm on one, bro. We've been out here. So anyways, the index. I don't know if you're familiar with a company called GoRuck.
I'm not.
They're so worth looking up. GoRuck is one of those companies where I'm like, man, I wish I was American, because they're like the flags and the eagles and like they're American, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so they make hard use rucksacks.
Okay.
And they have these events called the GoRuck Challenge. So in 2017, I did the GoRuck Challenge. They had one in Canada, one in Toronto. Okay? So basically, they have varying levels of challenges. The one I did was 12 hours long. You have a rucksack on your back that's like 45 pounds or so. And you have to go, I think we did like 25 miles or something. And there's all this like PT involved, squats, push-ups. They make you carry logs and stuff. We had to like get in a lake. And then when you got out of the lake, okay, here's another story I told during my interview process. They were talking about chain of command, right? And what do you think of the chain of command? And I said, a lesson that I learned at this GoRuck event was that leadership happens within the chain of command, not just from the top down, right? So what happened was we got in this lake and it's like 3 a.m. and it's freezing. And so then we get out and we're on the beach and they made us into sugar cookies, right? So what happens is you got to lay down on the beach, you get sand all over you. And then they come around with a flashlight and they're looking in your nostrils, they're looking in your ears. And it's a whole, like, they're trying to make people quit at the very beginning. So anyways, they said, we're going to keep doing this. They said, who's the team leader? And everybody's like, hell no. Like, I don't want to look at what we're already doing.
Yeah.
What am I going to be a team leader for? And so they made us get in the lake, sugar cookie, get in the lake, sugar cookie. And the guy said, we're going to keep doing this forever until somebody's a team leader. So I was like, right here, team leader. You got it. And he's like, pick an assistant team leader. I slapped the guy beside me. I was like, that guy right there, you know? But we were tasked at that time to make some decisions, and those decisions had consequences for the whole team. Like, for example, they said, we're in downtown Toronto, and they said, go find a log.
In downtown Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay.
Said, to make it worse, your team is going to lay down in the lake and do flutter kicks until you come back. You know, so.
Oh, man.
We went down the beach. Yeah. There's some people having a fire sitting down on this log. So like we emerged from the black of night, like all covered in sand and stuff. And we were like, we have no time to explain. We need the log that you're sitting on. You know, so we had to make those decisions. And that was the cadre there impressed upon me that, you know, your ability to make decisions rapidly and adapt when you make the wrong decision is leadership that can happen from within the chain of command. That's what I took from that whole experience. Anyhow.
I like that.
What an aside. The GoRuck experience way before I got involved with fire, that changed me. At the very end of it, you get a patch, and that's the only thing. You can't buy this patch. You only get it by completing. You know, and when they give you the patch, they hold it up against your chest, and then they punch it onto your chest. And I ended up asking one of the cadre what that whole thing was about, because apparently it's got like a whole tradition about it, and like pinning a pin on your chest. And it's like this honorable thing. It sticks into your body and stuff. It's gangster. But that changed me. And I added this component or this module into the Wedge because I used earlier the word transcend. And there's something I've heard in weightlifting, for example, there's something called the transcendent rep, right? When you promise yourself you're going to do 10 and you get it up to the top of that movement and you're shaking and you're trying to take big, deep breaths in, but you do one more because even though you said you do 10, you will transcend yourself when you do 11. I know for certain, I know this through jujitsu, I know this through fitness generally, when you do hard stuff with people, you become something more than what you were. And God, I think that would be such a valuable exercise for a crew that, you know, at the end of the day, I have a buddy of mine who's a local police officer, and above their gear room, they have a banner that says, "What if everybody was just like you?"
Makes
You
you
know,
really think.
oh man, wouldn't you like to? Maybe this is a product of my psycho friends making me want to go, do a big long ruck march. And let's, you know, here's a way I can break it down for you, that what I'm trying to get at with the index. My family went out on a ruck march this weekend, and I was explaining to my son, who's 8, that we were rucking a bunch of canned foods to my station for our food drive. And it's 3.9 kilometers. So it's not bad, but that's a long way for a little guy. And I was trying to impress upon him that, yeah, you're going to carry weight too, because you have to, because whether you want to or not, we all carry burden. So we should be more prepared than not to carry burden. And I was explaining to him, the send me philosophy of being a firefighter. Again, I know I've been a firefighter for 6 months. Okay. So I know, but I was saying that whole
No, but it is there from someone who's been doing this for a long time. It's you're there.
Yeah. I was saying to him, when you're a firefighter, or dare I say, when you're a son or a daughter or a brother or sister or a mom or a dad, when you're a person, you also have to accept other people's burdens sometimes. And you have to, so I gave him an extra bag to carry with his hand with 3 cans in it. And I was like, this is the extra that you didn't ask for, but you have to carry it, And I think if that sort of mentality was issued to people who were willing to participate in the index, maybe not an if, I know for certain, because I've done it myself, that we are capable of turning off that part of our mind that enables us to quit and give up. And we can just say, I did a 12-mile ruck in August, like I said, with a firefighter from Paris, Ontario, which means nothing to the vast majority of people that are listening to this. But there was another firefighter from the county. And when she showed up, she said something to the effect of, how long are we going? Or are we going 12? And I said, well, we said we were going 12. So we're going 12. Right? And there's this, a little bit of a pause, and right? She's like, yeah, okay, then we're going to do it. There's no feasible way, except for maybe my knees exploding, that we're going to stop. And at the end of it, you can barely walk. Your feet are all swollen. Everything sucks. It's not fun. It's not supposed to be, but you did it, and if there's not something to be said about that in a tribe where people are fully and wholly dependent on us to perform when they need us to, I think that's something you can sharpen by doing things that suck. And the index sucks, But I mean, to promote buy-in among people who might not be about that kind of thing, let's just start with teaching people how to build goals. One of the sources in the program is this study that was conducted among students, where half of the students were given instruction, just 5 minutes of instruction on how to develop goals. Not, hey, Taylor, tell me what your goals are. We're going to work on them. I'm going to help you through this process. It was, here's how you build a goal that's attainable and realistic. The students who were given that information ultimately led to more execution downstream with other things than the students who were not given that instruction.
Well, it goes back to like back in high school for me. And
Yeah.
when I was helping other kids and teachers were helping me, when you just gave the kid the answer next to you and it's like, okay, here's how we do it, blah, blah, here's the answer. And then that kid was like, okay, I get that question. Well, what about this one? Well, it's the exact same thing, but here's how you do it. And here's the answer.
Yeah.
You're walking them through every bit of it, which you don't need to do that. That doesn't help them in the long term. They don't learn anything from that. But if you actually take a little bit extra time and go through, okay, so you have these things. So what are you supposed to do next? Okay, this is what we're supposed to do next. So what do you get from that? Okay, then what are you supposed to do next? You walk them through that process. They can answer that same math problem 1,000 times later down the line.
Yeah.
So
it's okay to not know how to do it.
yes.
I was that like, they're even like doing aptitude tests and stuff like that. I'm the guy, I can show you my journal. I have pages and pages and pages of division.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. And so
It
like, I have to do it over and over. And like, it's okay to feel stupid. It's okay to not know how to do it. That's how you figure it out in the long run,
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly like you say.
So with the index, can you give like an example of the index, like what you're hoping for someone to make of it?
Sure. So there's examples in the actual document with like a more formal, like do this, then do that kind of thing. But basically, let's say it's me, you, and 3 other people. And I guess an important point to touch on here is this program requires 0 budget and 0 extra personnel. It's just a peer support thing. And, I like injected a couple little social worky things in there about like, you should check in with the group once a week, even if it's on Zoom or it's at the station, so we can get together. We can talk about why is it so hard to read this book? And, we can, I incorporated the idea of peer check-ins with some prompts to, open-ended questions, because it's good practice to talk about what we're having a hard time with without talking about things we're having a hard time with,
Yes. Well, and it makes you stronger as a team in the long run, whether it is with your family or with your fire department or with your work buddies or whoever it is.
So let's say it's me, you, and 3 other people. And I've been the guy saying, okay, let's get together at the station on Friday afternoon, every Friday evening at 6:30, and we'll talk about how we're doing at the table. We'll keep each other accountable. I'm going to pick a time duration that's scaled well for everybody who's involved. So let's say, but that time duration for the index should far exceed what we're used to doing, because what we're trying to do here is push ourselves physically and mentally to a brand new plane of existence,
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we pick 4 hours, and some people who are not as well equipped for the physical side are going to show up with their track pants and their hoodies on, and other people who want more challenge are going to show up with a rucksack on. And let's say we have some way to encumber ourselves, like a jerry can filled with water or a sandbag or some other way to encumber ourselves, because once again, we all carry burdens, so we should actually do that sometimes. Then we're going to pick a location. I like to use places like war memorials or the station's flagpole, someplace where we can gather, hopefully real early in the morning before anybody else is even thinking about doing this kind of thing. And we can take a minute to ourselves to really take in what we're about to do and make that, dare I say, the promise to yourself that I'm going to complete this. And then you could, let's say, develop or just pull from this document a couple different workouts. So that might be, okay, from this point to that point, wherever those points are, let's say it's like 2 points on a field or something like that. each person is going to have to do a low crawl from this point to that point and back. And while they're doing that, or while we're alternating doing that, everybody else is doing this circuit of push-ups and jumping jacks and all this crazy stuff. And then we're going to go for a big long walk, like a 2-hour walk, right? That's all it is. It's not jogging. It's not, the only way it becomes more cumbersome is if you add weight, right? Okay. This can scale all the way to insanity, right? Like if you had a group of people that were registered for insanity, then you could say, okay, well, fill up. I have a backpack at my station right now filled with bricks. So we're going to fill backpacks filled with bricks, and we're going to do this for 10 hours.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Whatever. It can scale all the way to that. One thing that I hope people can adopt is the end should be this celebration, right? You could invite everybody from the station, families, so that when you finish, whatever your finish is, it should be like nothing you've ever done before. So that when you show up, you could stand in front of your family and say, I'm different now. Mm-hmm. Right? And once again, a voluntary thing, but something that with time, effort, pace, and cadence, those 4 words are what I've predicated this whole program on. I think, again, this is lofty, so forgive me, but I really do think like almost anything is possible with the right amount of time, effort, pace, and cadence applied to whatever it is you're aiming at. And so it's basically like, how long can you keep up the required energy at a speed that's fast enough for a duration that you can not slow down, right? And I think as you win more and build more confidence, your reserve to attach to time, effort, pace, and cadence grows until, in the jiu-jitsu world, they say a relentless force is unstoppable, and that's one of those things that like, I can hear that at the right time of day and I'm like, oh, it's on. Mm-hmm. Like whatever I'm doing right now, I'm going to just jack this right up. Relentless, I think the wedge could be used as a tool or a vehicle to mend or improve or shift some aspects of firehouse culture that
I could definitely see that
I've heard and maybe seen a little tiny bit of, that some people wish they could affect, like that's a great word, to affect. I think this is something that could be used to affect forward motion.
And you may not be getting everyone in the station doing the wedge program all at the same time. It's going to be like we were talking about before with the insanity and everything. It's going to be infectious with the intenseness. You're going to have maybe a few people do it, only maybe 2 or 3,
maybe 1.
And maybe it might be 1. I mean, I've been there. It may only be 1 with this kind of a program. But the more you do it, it might be months that you're doing it alone even. Who knows? Yeah. Every firehouse is different. Every situation is different. But eventually people are going to start noticing, and they're going to want to start doing what you're doing once they see the process and the outcome of what happens to you when you're done with it. Every time.
Yeah. Oh, I hope so anyway. I'm saying it like all confidently, like, yes, absolutely.
Yes, this will happen. No, from my views so far, I haven't tried it yet, but from my views, seeing this program, it has the makings to help somebody turn their life around and help somebody be more mindful of what they're doing and mindful of where they're going for the future.
mindful is such a great word, Taylor. I think, when I was like all bummed out and angry and whatnot, the biggest thing that I had was this whole idea that like I had a real problem with mortality. And I was, it's, maybe kind of dark, but when my son was born, I couldn't get out of my head that he was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get that out of my head. And that turned into this whole weird thing about time. And I kind of recognized that like, oh, I am melting my own lifespan by hinging on this and being anchored to these ideas. And so that whole mindful thing for me is like, that's so incredibly powerful. That it's almost like a superpower, really. Like if you're present enough to know that like, oh, I have to fix this about myself. I have to work on that, or I have to adapt in this way. That's almost like a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who's ever been on autopilot, right? That's the opposite of the superpower. It's the worst,
Oh, it is. It is. So, is there anything else that you have pertaining directly to the Wedge, to this program, that you'd like to talk about with it tonight?
I have one phrase.
Yes, I want to hear it.
It doesn't matter if you're volunteer or career. Your station took a chance on you, and showing up isn't enough.
Yay. Oh, that's awesome. Oh my goodness.
I can tell you from it, when we did an open house for our station before the interview,
mm-hmm.
and it was a room full of firefighters. It's like, I'm a firefighter. I went to Texas. I'm a firefighter. I did fire 1 and 2 at Conestoga. I'm a firefighter. And I was like, hi, my name's Bill and I fix computers. So like I called my mom after that and I was like, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. This is a room full of firefighters. They called me. I was at the grocery store when they called me and offered me the gig. And I was like, are you for real right now? Like, did everybody else say no? I said, yeah, of course I'll do it.
They saw something in you. And the more I'm talking to you tonight, I can see it too. I can see the passion you have for it. And I can see you going all in for it. And that's what we need in the fire service. We need people like you who come on, who are just so full of enthusiasm right from the get-go for this. So
splash.
Exactly. We need that big cannonball splash. We don't want someone just doing the cute little dives, we have enough of that right now. We need the splashes.
You're saying you had a question for me about family.
Yes. So it is actually real quick before we go into that section.
Yeah.
Just so people don't keep this a little bit kind of tidy too. So to find stuff for the Wedge specifically.
Oh, I suppose I should shout it out. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do it again at the end, but I want to do it here too. So
Sure.
How can they find all this information for this program?
Okay. So the program itself is located at timeandeffort.ca. So you go there, click one of the multitude of download now buttons, and that's it. The whole thing is available there for free, no catch. You can download it, print it, and run it. If you want me to run it for you, or you and your crew, or you and your department, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I have time.
See, you're going to turn into one of those people, like you're saying, with the roll steady, like they should be charging for this. Like it's going to be you two at some point. So people better get in on this before you figure out it needs charged for. So
you can find me on Instagram at 6Foxtrot. And I'm the guy that posts Instagram stories of myself running and shouting stuff because I get jacked up when I'm running. So, but if you want me to run it for you, by all means, either go to the website, timeandeffort.ca, and throw me an email, or get at me on Instagram, send me a message, and I'll run it for you. Or just tell me you're out there getting after it, and I'll send you like little emojis of guys flexing and stuff.
Perfect. Nice. What's the word I want to use? Just motivation from the other side there. Awesome. So it's time for us to go ahead and get into the next section of the show. So for anyone new listening, every guest episode, I try to go into what I call the Family Firefighter Survival segment. And this started from a place of, honestly, I've been married to my husband for a while. We're looking into having kids at some point. He's getting into the career side. I've been on volunteer. And things are changing, but I sort of realizing that families have a hard time with the fire service life. And there are resources out there. There really are, but they're not always getting talked about some of the things I want to talk about with it, if that makes any sense. And I wanted to kind of just get my own take on it and start looking into, especially on the take from the firefighter's point of view, not necessarily from the spouse's point of view all the time. And I feel like this is something that hopefully more of us firefighters will begin to learn about how it's affecting our spouses and affecting our home life, and be able to open up that dialogue from our end as well, and not just from the spouse end. So it's kind of where the segment came from. So Bill, I'm basically going to just kind of give you a couple questions. I'm not going to give you a chance to answer them right away. I'm just going to kind of give you like, okay, here's the questions.
Okay.
And let you roll with it about what you want to talk about with it. And you can really take it wherever you want. And it's just going to be a very relaxed, open conversation about wherever it takes us, whatever we kind of find in here.
Sure.
So first of all, so you are married, how long have you been married? And I'm assuming you were married then, I'm assuming when you started your volunteer firefighting and whatnot. Does it put any struggle on your family? What does the struggle look like for you if it is there? And do you do anything to mitigate that? Or I don't know, what have you and your family developed that fits for you? Or maybe you're still in a weird spot where you don't know how this is all working yet. So go ahead and take it away, Bill. And if I have questions, I'll kind of keep digging in while we're talking. So.
Okay. So I've been married for 11 years, I think.
Oh, fantastic.
I should know, like, definitively.
Okay. Hold on. My husband always says it's a year later than what it was. So like, he's like, oh, we married less time. Like, no, it's been longer than that. Like, you've put up with me a lot longer than what you think.
It's something like that anyway. It's 11. I think it's 11 years. No, I think it's 12 years because our 10th year anniversary, we were going to do this big thing. And then coronavirus hit, right?
Oh, mm-hmm.
And so we were like, well, that's a wrap. I guess we'll just make steaks on the barbecue. And, married for quite a while. And we have one little guy. He's 8 years old. And affected by the fire service. Okay, so a couple thoughts on that. We're really lucky because my chief at my station is really involved with the critical incident stress management team.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very vocal, and he's an advocate of mental wellness and checking in and making sure that people are well fitted for what we might run into out there. Again, I've been on, let's say, 25 calls. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, I can't really speak on that. But I guess so here's a couple ways we've been affected. There's a lot of training, and yes. I've seen guys at jiu-jitsu who don't train and they get strangled. Yes. Okay. So I don't want to get strangled in the fire service. So I train. And so that means I'm looking for courses. A lot of courses are out of town. They cost money. Mm-hmm. And some of them are particularly expensive. I finished up the emergency medical responder course, and I was like $1,400. So that creates a strain and a conversation all unto itself about to make sure everybody, my wife and I are making sure we're on the same frequency about what I'm getting after, why I'm getting after it, and what my next steps are going to be, so that it's not just this oh, hey, by the way, I'm going to go spend $2,000 on another course. I have things plotted out so that she can see kind of what my next 6 months look like.
So going into that, if you don't mind me breaking up your thought, so how much have you talked about, like, because you said you have it plotted out and planned out for different things. I guess, how deep do you get into that with her? How much does she know, or how much does she, for lack of better words, understand how much training you want or need for this job to make sure that you are safe doing it? Have you got, I mean, has it been a very deep conversation or pretty quick and she just trusts you, or how does that look between
Great
you?
question. Great question. I'm lucky. I mean, that's just like so sincerely, that my wife not only tolerates my attitude towards this, but is supportive. She gets where I'm coming from. So she says that if she's going to call 911, she wants somebody who is trained, who is fit, and who is mentally engaged to show up. So if I'm seeking training to make those things happen, there's no conversation, and I'm lucky in that sense, because when we first got together, I'm it's not that I'm bad with money. It's that I like toys, and I like stupid stuff too. It's like, I'll get into something. I just see an ad on Amazon and I'm like, I'm getting into bonsai trees. How many books I need, whatever.
Throwing knives, okay.
All day. So when we first started dating, like, we were just dating, and I was like, hey, can you take all my paychecks and just pay for the stuff that we need to pay for? So, I'm lucky. I'm lucky in that sense that she really does understand. And for some specific elements of, for example, I'm going to go down to FDIC next year, and they're running nozzle forward. They're running courses on RIT. RIT really interests me because they're kind of like 912, like they're, I figure, well, not I figure, if I'm the one on the attack team, I want the guys on RIT to be like jacked and insanely focused. And like, I just want those guys to be switched on, that it really interests me. So I'd like to get some training on RIT and Firefighter Survival stuff. And I don't really need to ask or formulate it in such a way that it's even a conversation. She's just kind of down.
That's good. Not everybody has that.
No, I recognize that too. Mm-hmm. So really, I did luck out. I just heard today, I can't remember where it was from. I think it was on one of those Fire X Talks speeches on YouTube, where they're saying that, your significant other, your family, they'll tell you that they're not worried, but they're worried.
Yes.
And I don't compartmentalize that. I know that, so, one thing, I wait until everybody goes to bed. And when everybody goes to bed, I drive out to the station and drill. And I try to do that 2 or 3 times a week. And I just drill. So I'll rip the medical bags out and run through VSA calls or whatever, or I'll just tie knots, or get some of the equipment out, run over the trucks. So I'm trying to also show my wife that, like, I know when the tone drops, there is that, I know I'm bouncing all over the place here, but
you're fine.
I try to get out the door before she can hear what's going on in the pager.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but that's how I'm running it right now.
Okay. Yeah. I see it.
It's kind of like, I also know about things like secondary trauma. And so I don't even, okay, so here's a great example, right? One time I was on a run, and I don't bring my pager when I'm on a run, but we have that Who's Responding app. So I still get the call on my phone. And I had my pager plugged in downstairs, and the volume was on high. And there was a call for child VSA. And there was this whole kerfuffle about, trying to turn the pager off so that my son didn't hear it. And I recognized that even that minute exposure can generate questions. It can generate worry and concern.
I
So
start realizing how often things can happen and how often
yeah,
things do happen and what you might be seeing every day or every call that you go on to, and wondering how it's going to affect you. Or if you've been through something before, who knows, if you've been through either a situation yourself or whatnot, going to something, if your spouse is at home and hears that, they might be worried that you might be triggered for something and might go into a spiral or who knows what,
yeah.
So just, it is extra added stress.
My son's old enough to know what a firefighter is
Mhm.
and to know like what the gig is, and so when I first started my recruit program, he would ask questions that were soft enough because he's also socially intelligent enough to know that, like, well, I don't want to put dad out. I don't want to make it seem like I'm worried or something like that. But
Oh,
he would say things like, I don't know specifically, but I would take from a conversation with him that he does think about when the pager goes off at 3:00 in the morning and I blitz out of this house, what am I going to, and I know he's concerned about that. So the other thing, like for training, I try to drive so constantly that, like, oh, you're going to bed? Cool, bro. I'm going to train. And like, I'm training all the time, whether I'm lifting weights and running or going to the station, studying. Like I make a point of, yeah, you're right. I am done the recruit program, but I'm still studying. I'm still doing these courses. I'm training, because that I heard that on that FireX talk the other day. And it's one of those things that, but when you hear it, it hits different, right? You're
Mhm.
like, of course they're worried, but I also think that they've been built strong enough through, our relationship, so here's, you were saying about you've, the traumatic experiences and stuff. The reason I wanted to be a firefighter is because my son had a febrile seizure. And let's sidebar here. When you go take prenatal classes and they're like, here's how to wrap up a baby, talk about febrile seizures. We didn't even know that could happen.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so what, he had an ear infection.
Oh.
Ear infection gave him a fever. The fever got and we didn't even know he had an ear infection. So put him to bed, this ear infection caused a fever spiked, and he seized. And then, he ended up asphyxiating a little bit, went a little bit hypoxic. And so, we're dealing with like that, oh my God scenario. And it was firefighters were the first ones in the door. And I was told at our recruit program, I told this story then because people were saying a firefighter is a job where a mother will hand you her baby.
Mhm.
And I was that guy. I was like, I don't know how to fix this, and so it's one of those things, I guess, where I recognize I'm mindful of the idea that they know a degree of what I'm going out to when it comes to calls. But on the opposite side of that, we just got invited at our station out to this critical incident stress meeting where our spouses and family members were given these resources within the station, outside of the station, and just some information about, like, here's kind of what it's like. And here's some indicators to look for where, Bill comes home and from a call, doesn't want to talk about it. And then 2 weeks later, he's still in the basement. He's not talking to anybody. He's grown a beard, not going to calls anymore. Like, these are some of the things to look for, kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much I've heard, and I mean, well, I know it for myself too, but if if you or your spouse or whoever it is, the firefighter or whatever, if someone's acting different than what they normally do, something is wrong.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. If they are not active at all and like super active, but not in a happy way,
Yeah.
that's bad. If they're super active and they go completely lazy and don't do anything, that's bad. So just if they talk a lot and don't talk at all, or if they don't talk at all and talk a lot, but it's, again, when you have those things where they're getting out of their comfort zone, but it's not positive.
Yeah.
That's a clue to look for too.
Yeah. I'd say, overall, I lucked out with, here's another thing, I guess. My wife has seen me try and fail to find an opportunity to serve. I went through some of the recruitment process for the military, and it didn't work out. There's been these opportunities where I've went through processes to try to go out, and the way I've described it to her is I'm trying to, maybe put back a little bit of effort into a system that has given me the opportunity to live this life where I can buy avocados in the middle of December in Ontario. Like, it's so comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's to the tune of like, I don't have to experience emergencies. I don't have to. They can be dished out to me. Like my son can have a febrile seizure, but I'm not living in Syria where the whole block's on fire. And, so I think, we actually just talked about this last night. We went and got Indian food because my folks had my son overnight. So we got to just have a date night, and we did the whole, went out for dinner, came back and watched some South Park because that's just the perfect night,
Oh yeah.
And she was asking about, we had a fire where there was a fatality. And I think she was just kind of checking in about, her comment was, she's also married to the guy who I used to be a social worker, right? So like open-ended questions that like tease things out of people, and she's like, that must have been a very unique experience. Right. And so like, think about the way that's phrased.
Yeah.
Where we're just driving down to Everest Grill to pick up some buttered chicken. Right. And that can go to, I felt this way about it. And, sometimes I think about it, or, and I was kind of saying to her, like, I had enough time in that specific scenario to get my mind right. Where by the time we got there, like we were probably fourth truck in or something like that. By the time we got there, I was kind of like, okay, like this is kind of what we're going to on the mental side of things, versus something that like maybe you're on a medical and the patient crashes and, there's like, oh my God. And now we're adapting really quickly and things are starting to spiral and get away from you. I could see myself maybe having a different reaction to that. But on that side of things, I'd say we're already really open about, of course, she saw my transformation from this steaming pile of lazy, angry, just brutality to the person I am today. So I can, I'm just okay with saying, I'm not feeling real good right now. Or like, I'm taxed right now. Like I have training and this is going on and that's going on. And there's things in the family, there's things in here, there, everywhere. And it's a lot in the bar right now, so we're already kind of open that way. I think I don't know what I would tell somebody if you're not there to
start small.
Yeah.
Start small. Start with something. Start with, I don't know, every night, just taking 5-10 minutes, nothing else happening, no phones, no TV,
Yeah.
either on the couch or in bed or in the car, sitting in the front seat or however it works, and just start talking about your day. But don't just talk about your day, talk about a few feelings that actually accompany the day. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be super deep yet. I mean, it'd be nice if it was right away, but it doesn't have to be. And then
Yeah.
every single day, do that. It'll start building. You'll start getting to these deeper levels, to these more open things, and being able to tell them more.
Yeah. It's
So
hard, it's
it
hard
is.
to like, I remember feeling like, I remember when I first started, because my wife would like ask me, what's up? Like, why are, she's obviously had noted that like I put on 90 pounds and was like angry all the time for no reason,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time I was hiding a lot of my more depressive feelings. And, you know, I I remember like nothing, right? Nothing. I don't even know why I was feeling like this. I guess that's what a panic attack is, right? I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go to the bathroom and hyperventilate and cry, and like, there's no, like, I don't even know why. So I remember having this, like, you know, I say a blowout, but it wasn't an argument. It was just this, like, a release. And I
Yeah.
was like, hey, I'm burdened and I don't know why. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what's making me feel like this. But I remember having to say, we were driving through downtown and I said, this was during, the height of this depression, when I was trying to be open about the way I was feeling. So I was saying, hey, I just want you to know, this is the most Canadian thing to be depressed about ever. Get ready. Okay. So I said, we're driving past a Tim Hortons and there's a lineup at the Tim Hortons in the drive-through. I was like, I don't know why, but that makes me feel sad. And I was like, there's no like rhyme or reason. And I was like, that like really bums me out. And I'm sad for all the people that got to wait in line. I'm sad that other people are going to get there and not get their stuff as fast. It makes no sense. But that's where I was,
Yeah.
so to be able to, I guess, before, full circle here, it's being mindful. It's not, you can't go talk to your wife about being sad about the lineup at Tim Hortons if you don't even know that what you're feeling is uncommon against the pattern of what you have felt. So you start going down that muddy road, it's awfully easy to just convince yourself that this is capital N normal,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like quicksand, man. It starts to overtake you, so family side, wow, we're open about that too with my son, where like, I'll be the first to admit I had a good like 15-minute episode at the beginning of COVID, because we have a small family business and this was right after all of our clients shut down. And so we're not
Mhm.
shut down, but we're not working. And it's like, you don't plan for that in a
Yeah,
business plan,
exactly. You might play for like a month or so, but that's it. Like
you know,
this is any longer than that. Wait, what?
it was this,
Let's
my
keep
parent,
growing.
it's like my parents were stressed. We were arguing because we're
Mhm.
stressed. And then the school shut down and my wife's a teacher. So when the school shut down, it was like this, like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
Like that's never, ever happened. And I had an episode. I threw my phone and, this is right after an argument on the phone. I threw my phone. I was like cursing and like, I was flared. Right. And then the flare, I saw myself doing that, I guess. And that turned into this crushing disappointment that I had done that in front of my son and just like, you let it go. I had felt disappointed in myself. And so I remember we were on the floor in the living room in front of the front window there. And I was explaining to him, and I was upset, and I was explaining to him, I'm so angry. I can't even talk correctly. I'm so angry. I'm crying. Right. And his little brain is trying to like put it together, but we were, and rightly or wrongly, I'm sure there's other parents that'd be like, oh man, you got to button that up and like go in the back bedroom and deal with that yourself. But I'm trying to show him like, I'm a man. This is what happens. This is what happens.
You have to learn how to work through. You have to, especially for young impressionable minds, they have to see someone work through it so that they know in the future how to start working through it. Otherwise, they're going to go to unhealthy outlets for it.
Cave 313 on YouTube.
Okay.
The guy, he's like a martial arts instructor. I don't know his name. He's on Jason Wilson. That's his name. He has this viral video where he's teaching kids how to smack wooden boards, right? And the kid is having a heck of a time doing it, and he can't do it, and he hurts his hand. And you can see he's starting to get emotional. He's being filmed. There's people watching. He can't do the thing he said he was going to do. And the guy brings it all right down, comes right down to his eye level. And he's saying to him things like, hey, we cry as men. That's what happens. You're facing something right now you don't think you can do. And you have to feel these emotions, feel it, cry it out, but learn to contain it and build from that. Right. So that once it happens to you, you get this like, okay, it's happened. We're going to wash it all out. And now we're going to build back. Right. And now we're going to attack. We're going to re-engage. So, I think I've talked to my son about, one thing I'm really careful with is, he's an 8-year-old boy. If his dad runs out the door to go be fireman and I come back and he's like, what happened? Like, he's like, tell me.
Something exciting happened. You're a fireman. You got to do something.
Oh, he's just stoked. Right. And so, I never, ever relinquish anything. Yeah. Everybody was good. It was all good. Yep. Somebody got in a car crash. Yep. And everybody's good, and so I'm super careful about that because, he is to this stage of development where when he asks questions, he needs to know that I have the answer.
Yeah.
And he needs to know, he needs the Disney ending, right? Everything's all good. Right. And because, we have aging relatives, we have an aging dog, these conversations, these things, these experiences, these are going to be served to him. Right. So even though he knows, he heard a call one time where it was like smoke showing or something like that. And he knows, I think I've got a sticker in my gym that says smoke showing or something like that, So he knows that means like there's a fire. We're going to get into one here.
Yeah, he's smart.
And so he has that, he knows enough that we're going out to some stuff that is dangerous. I guess his friends have said a couple things to him about, that it's dangerous to be a firefighter and stuff like that. And I'll acknowledge that because I'm also not going to say to him, it's not dangerous. That's like, how would he ever trust me with?
You wouldn't want to lie to him because especially if something were to ever happen to you, that would rack his brain. He wouldn't be able to come to terms with it.
So I say, yeah, it's dangerous, but you know how bad I'm training? Like we're out here, we're out, homie, I'm on one, we're training, like, and I say to him, so one thing that I had the call where we just bought this brand new game. It's called Spectre Operations. It's like little Warhammer guys on a tabletop wargaming, right?
Okay.
And we built the models, we painted them. It's taken us like 6 weeks to get the game ready. And we planned it Sunday night. After supper, we're going to make a tea. We're going downstairs. We're going to play Spectre Operations till midnight. And, midnight for an 8-year-old is like 7:30.
Yeah.
And we got to like turn 2 and a tone drops. It's a call, you know, and so it's the long exhale, right?
Mm-hmm.
I followed up the game with him. We finished the game. I had to run out to the call. I think it was like an hour and a half or something like that. He asked me later, it was his birthday several weeks later. And he said, if you get a call on my birthday, are you going to go? And I said, yeah, I'm going to go, because God, even just articulating this to another person that's like external to my whole life, this is a super valuable conversation for me. But I said to him, we run in this house by this theory that nobody's coming, right? You have to fend for yourself. And I said to him, like, he understands that the reason I have to go out is because somebody called 911. They called 911 because there's something really bad happening. And so, you know, I had said to him, and do continue to say to him, I have to go because I have to go. Like, these, you know, sure, there's other people at the station, but they called for people like me to come. So I have to go. You know, that the send me mentality. This, you know, that line from Fury, the movie Fury, it's like a, you know, biblical verse or whatever. But I'm sure you've seen, I'm covered in tattoos, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to find a spot like, see right there.
So you got a little bit of spot.
Yeah. That's the next one. I'm going to get send me somewhere on my body, because I feel when you say the phrase send me, it's also send my family, send my experiences, send, you know, we had this conversation when I first started about, this isn't me going to be a volunteer firefighter. Our family is going to sacrifice time and experiences, and we're going to have to give things up that other people don't have to give up. And I had that experience with I had that conversation rather with my son when I first started about, you're a kid that's now not like a bunch of other kids, because some kids have parents that are police or firefighters or military members, dispatchers, ambulance people, that when they get called, they have to go. They can't, that's what happens. They have to go. And I was trying to explain to him that, like, he's going to come upon a scenario where he might feel let down or bummed out or sad or angry that I have to go, but that he kind of has to let me go, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's good to start working on, because that will happen. That does happen. And there are times when, I mean, there are times when the fire department in general, you know, understands too that people do need to stay home for different things. There is a give and take with it, but it is good. It is good to start a kid out, especially with these expectations, with those talks, so that it doesn't just happen and you've never talked about it before. You know, that you've laid that out, what could happen, and that they understand why. That's all they really want to know. They want to know why. They want to make sure you still love them. They want to make sure you're coming back. They, you know, especially, and this is something that we've talked about with my parents, and I'm going to talk about with my future kids and stuff. We don't have Christmas most of the time on Christmas. It never works out. But we know we're going to do it sometime. Just because mom or dad can't stay for the birthday party doesn't mean they're not going to come back and do another birthday party with you later or something like that. You know, there's always another time that we can do these things. You can't always push it off, but just help them to know that it's not specifically that one instance that's important. It's that you're spending the rest of your lives together as a family too. Yeah. So it's great that to hear that you're starting this conversation with them, that you have started the conversation with them, to have him realize that, you will be leaving, and just working through that and answering his questions as they come up. Yeah. I mean, I feel like everything in, you know, parenting is like, as soon as I figured out how to deal with a 2-year-old, he was 4, you know, and it's like, then I'm like, well, now we got to redo the whole thing, you know, so until he gets,
maybe a little bit older, I think one thing maybe for folks that are in my position that's worked well for me is I ask him to think about what would it be like if you were with your mommy and daddy and daddy fell down, maybe he fell down the stairs and he got really hurt and mommy was scared and she called 911. Would you want me to go then? And he can take that and go, oh, okay. Like you have to go. You'll come back when you're done with those people. But right now, even if that's on Christmas morning, you got to go help those folks, or at least he says he gets it.
Yeah. I mean, you never really know with that age. That's like kind of a weird age with it too. But in a couple of years, he'll be able to really, really speak his mind and really make sure that, he gets it. And oh, that's awesome to hear.
Trying anyway, and I think that's as long as you keep swinging,
Yeah. This has been an amazing talk. Oh my goodness. I didn't know what to expect. I knew it was going to be good. I just didn't expect it was going to be this good.
Well, thank you. Thanks.
I've taken so much away. I have like half a page. Well, maybe not half. I have a notepad full of notes right now of other things I need to look up after this. We talked about. So I can't wait to try to give the wedge a try. I mean,
Get at me. You pick a month and we'll run it.
Sounds perfect.
I'm the accountability buddy nobody asked for.
Buddy.
Perfect.
So people can find you at the Instagram. That's 6 Foxtrot, right?
Yep.
And at your website, which is, there it is.
Timeandeffort.ca.
Yes, thank you. I was like, I had it right there. To remember I had it. Otherwise, people reach out to Bill if you want to start the Wedge program. I mean, and if nothing else, download it, read it for yourself, get a feel for it. I do like the journaling that you had in there with it. I think that's a powerful part of it. We didn't really get into that in this conversation, but I'm a big journal person. It works for me.
Yeah,
I can tell. And it's just the whole program just seems very exciting to me, and I can't wait to give it a try.
Cool. I'm going to bug you about it.
Fantastic. I can't wait.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you. And everybody, I can't wait to see you next week. We'll see you. Have you hear me? Whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time, but they know very well I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. I don't know. I have coming up next week, but I know it's going to be another fun one. And if you guys have anything you'd like to hear about, or if you have any follow-up questions for Bill or anything that you either want to send directly to him or through me, feel free to do that. And I hope you guys have a good night, day, or whatever time you're listening to this, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for coming by and listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Couplings Fire Podcast. See you next time, everybody.